Hello my dear students, welcome to our channel Rajesh Biology and I am Rajesh MSc Zoology. Today our topic is male accessory glands. Actually these are accessory genital glands. Accessory genital glands are male accessory glands of the reproductive system. So now there is three glands are there. There is three different glands are present to assist the reproductive process, to assist the fertilization process. So these three glands are a pair of seminal vesicles, a pair of seminal vesicles, and a prostate gland, a prostate gland. It is not a paired structure. Prostate gland is only one, and a pair of bulbourethral glands. Bulbourethral glands. Bulbourethral glands are also called Cowper's glands. They are also called what? Cowper's glands. So these are the three various glands which are present at the pelvic region, which are associated with the male reproductive system, which assist to spermatozoa to fertilize the ovum. Now we will discuss about a pair of seminal vesicles. A pair of seminal vesicles are present posterior lateral sides of the urinary bladder. So if it is the urinary bladder, the seminal vesicles are present like this. Either side of the urinary bladder, the seminal vesicles are present like this. And in the semen, what is meant by semen? Semen means semen contains spermatozoa along with the secretions of all these accessory glands together called semen. Semen means spermatozoa plus glandular secretions. In that semen, 60% of the seminal fluid. So for example, these are the sperm cells. Okay, these white color structures are what? Sperm cells. And this yellow color structure, it is called what? Semen. So in this semen, spermatozoa is there and seminal fluid is there. Seminal fluid is also there. So in this seminal fluid, 60% of the seminal fluid, 60% of the semen, 60% of the semen constitute the secretions of the seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles contribute how much? 60% of the seminal fluid. The seminal vesicles secretions seminal fluid contains, the seminal vesicles secretion contains fructose. It is a carbohydrate and it is the major energy source for the spermatozoa outside the body. When it is present inside the body within the testes, the Sertoli cells going to give the nourishment. We already discussed. Okay, and in epididymis also the secretions of epididymis give the nutrition and it give the time and space for the maturation in epididymis. That is also we discussed. And when the spermatozoa going to leave the body, outside the body also spermatozoa should be provided with the nourishment to get the energy and to reach the ovum. In female reproductive tract, it should get some energy and that energy source is nothing but fructose. Very important, don't write like a glucose or maltose, it is a fructose, and fructose is a carbohydrate. Along with this, some prostaglandins are also present, which are lipids. Prostaglandins and fructose are the major secretions of the seminal vesicles, which has a major role in fertilization process. Fructose is the nourishment. It gives what? Nourishment. Major energy source. Come to the prostaglandins. Prostaglandins aid the fertilization process. They aid fertilization process by making the female reproductive tract suitable for the fertilization. How it is like during the fertilization, during during insemination. Just imagine as it is the fertilization, sorry, as it is the female reproductive tract. Okay, just imagine as it is what? Female reproductive tract. So when the sperm cells are released here, the prostaglandins stimulate the cervix. It is the cervix of the female reproductive tract, uterus wall of the female reproductive tract, and they create peristaltic movements to allow the spermatozoa into the female reproductive tract. Like once upon a time, at the time of the kings and kingdoms, when other countries or whether other kingdoms king came to this kingdom, automatically before the king, his workers come first and they announced Raja Marthanda, he is coming into this kingdom, like that they said. So just like that, the prostaglandins first stimulate the female reproductive tract to welcome the spermatozoa into the female reproductive tract, and they stimulate the uterus wall, cervix wall to welcome. They prepare a green carpet for the spermatozoa into the female reproductive tract. That's why the prostaglandins and fructose, very important constituents which are secreted by the seminal vesicles. Of course, not only these two, there is so many constituents are there in the seminal vesicle secretion. They are nothing but citric acid. Citric acid is there, and inorganic phosphate, and phosphorus, potassium, inorganic phosphate, and citric acid. Of course, some proteins are also present. So simply how to remember? There is 3 biomacromolecules are present, that is carbohydrates represented by the fructose, and prostaglandins represented lipids, and proteins are also there. Carbohydrates, proteins and lipids are present. Along with that, inorganic phosphate, citric acid also present, and all these together form 60% of the seminal fluid which is released out in the semen. Now this is the pair of seminal vesicles. Next come to the prostate gland. So I'll do one thing, I'll arrange entire board and I'll draw the clear diagram of the glands where they are located. So now just imagine as it is what? Urinary bladder. It is urinary bladder, and either side of the urinary bladder there is a pair of what? Seminal vesicles. There is a pair of what? Seminal vesicles. And of course, if it is the urinary bladder, these two are ureters, which came from kidney. Ureters. Now I'll draw the vasa differentia with a yellow color. So vasa differentia, the vasa differentia, this vas difference is ascends into the abdominal wall and loops over the urinary bladder like this, and they collect a duct from seminal vesicles like this. And of course, this is the vas differentia of another side. So this vas differentia is come from the scrotum. So like this, these vas differentia come from either side of the urinary bladder and loops over the urinary bladder, and they collect a duct from where? They collect a duct from what it is? Seminal vesicle. So this is the seminal vesicle duct. The red color duct is what? Seminal vesicle duct. So these two ducts fuse to form. What? This blue color duct is ejaculatory duct. That blue color duct is what? Ejaculatory duct. So this is what? Vas differentia. This is also vas differentia. Vas differentia merge with this which duct? Vas differentia merge with the duct of seminal vesicles and together form ejaculatory duct. These two ejaculatory ducts combined with the urethra. Where it combines? It combines with the urethra in the center of the prostate gland. Okay, so the purple color, most of the person's favorite color, I think it is. The purple color chalk piece, I draw a prostate gland here. So this is the prostate gland, and I'll continue this urethra with yes, orange color. So this is the actual prostatic urethra. So I'll give this vas difference, and what is this? Duct from seminal vesicle, duct from seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicles secrete 60% of the seminal fluid, which contains fructose and prostaglandins, citric acid, proteins, inorganic phosphate, and potassium, everything. Okay, and together form what? Seminal duct of seminal vesicle and vas difference together form what? Ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct, and ejaculatory duct from the both sides merge in the center of the prostate gland. In the center of what? It is prostate gland. In the center of the prostate gland to form prostatic urethra. Prostatic urethra. So now come to the prostate gland. Prostate gland, this is the prostatic gland. And this prostatic gland secrete the prostatic secretions. The prostate gland secrete the prostatic secretions into the prostatic urethra by several prostatic ducts. Here only one gland is there, but ducts are many. Several ducts, not a single duct. Several ducts of the prostate gland opens into the prostatic urethra like this. Several ducts. So with the help of several ducts, prostate gland secrete prostatic secretions into the prostatic urethra. And the prostate gland secretions contribute 20 to 30% of the seminal fluid. 20 to 30% of the seminal fluid from the prostate gland. 60% is from the seminal vesicles. The remaining 10 to 15% is bulbourethral glands. So clear about the prostate gland, where it is located. Now come to the prostate gland secretions, how it helps in the fertilization process. Prostatic secretions are very essential for the fertilization process. It activates the spermatozoa. Very important. Spermatozoa becomes activated with the help of secretions of the prostatic gland. That is first point. And the second thing, they also provide nourishment for the spermatozoa. Nourishment, and they activate the spermatozoa. Along with these two, they maintain the liquidity. They maintain what? Liquidity of the semen. If the semen loses the liquidity, because I forgot to mention, seminal vesicle secretions are somewhat viscous, and of course it is alkaline fluid. Seminal vesicles is alkaline. It is alkaline fluid. It secretes alkaline and viscous fluid. And prostate gland secretes acidic fluid, acidic secretion, somewhat little acidic in nature. And prostatic secretions maintains the liquidity of the semen. If the semen loses the liquidity, sperms cannot fertilize. And if there is no nourishment from the prostate gland, sperm cells cannot fertilize. And if there is no prostatic secretions, spermatozoa cannot activate and cannot fertilize. That's why the previous important question, that is, which of the following gland secretions are very important for the fertilization process? In that, the right option is prostate gland. If any person suffer with the prostatic cancer, he may be failed to fertilize because of the lack of sufficient amount of the prostatic gland secretions. Prostate gland is very important for the male reproductive system. So it activates the spermatozoa, it gives the nourishment, it gives what? Nourishment. And another thing, it maintains the liquidity of the sperm cells. And don't get confused, prostaglandin secreted by the seminal vesicles. Even though the name is prostate gland here, prostaglandin secreted by the seminal vesicles. Okay, now the next prostatic urethra continues as it is the membranous urethra, and at the just beneath the prostate gland, beneath the prostate gland, at the starting point of the inner penis, there is a bulb-like glands are present, a pair of bulb-like glands are present. They are called bulbourethral glands. They look like small bulbs. Okay, bulbourethral glands which secrete bulbourethral secretion. Bulbourethral glands are also called Cowper's glands. Bulbourethral. Why it is urethral? They open into the urethra and they are look like bulb. Bulbourethral glands secretes very little amount, 10 to 15% of the seminal plasma or semen. 10 to 15% bulbourethral secretions are there, and they secrete colorless fluid. And just before the ejaculation also the secretions of bulbourethral glands continues. That means before the releasing of the semen also bulbourethral glands secrete their secretions. That's why the secretions of the bulbourethral glands act like a flushing agent. Scientists believe that the bulbourethral secretions act like a flushing agent. Why? If there is any urinary residues before the ejaculation, if there is any acidic residues of the urine if present in this, because it is the urinogenital duct which carries both urine and sperm cells. So sometimes the urine contains some acidic residues that may be not eliminated from the urethra if they are still remain within the urethra. So the secretions eliminate that. First it clears the entire urethra. So once it is clear, then the main sperm cell will travel through the same path. Just like if you observe, if any minister came into one particular area, before the minister, the under workers like VROs or MROs or MLAs, they just work on that road. Is there any disturbances in that road? Is there any puddles are there? Is that road is correct, good or not? Like that they first check and later they inform to travel that minister in that route. As like that, before the sperm cells enter into this route, bulbourethral glands first check that, and if there is any acidic residues, they just clear that, and that's why it act like a flushing agent. How the flush is helpful in the toilets, like that they act like a flushing agent. And here these are corpora cavernosa. This is the corpora cavernosa. Okay, and of course this is a glans penis. And urethra is also becomes a swell here at the end. The urethra also becomes a swell, and it opens out with the help of urethral meatus. It opens out as a urethral meatus. So it is external genitalia. It is what? External genitalia, and it opens out with the help of urethral meatus. And it is what? Spongy penis, or spongy urethra or penile urethra. Now, very important points about the accessory glands are: first, seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicle secretions are alkaline and viscous. And prostate gland secretions are acidic. And yes, bulbourethral gland secretions are alkaline. That's why I didn't mention when I explained about the seminal vesicles or the prostate gland, because one alkaline, acidic, alkaline, acidic, alkaline, that is the order. So these are the secretions of the accessory glands. And of course, if you want to continue the diagram, you can continue as it is what? It is what? Epididymis, and it is the testis. You can continue like that. And this is the male reproductive system. In next class, I'll try to explain how to draw the male reproductive system diagram and spermatozoa structure diagram. In the examinations, I'll try to explain about that, or otherwise I'll move to the female reproductive system explanation. Right. Thank you. Have a nice day.